Okay, I think we're recording. So, first thing, when it comes with like certain cults, I'd say the biggest part has like I guess the most psychology you could say is definitely I'd say the leaders themselves because there's cases of like Charles Manson where we have history of his past. And even as like a little kid, if someone was picking on him or bullying him, he'd usually get the bigger kids and he'd like convince them to go beat that kid up or do something to that kid. Um, so yeah, and then when they got in trouble, he would just pin it on them and convince the adults that no, it wasn't me that did it; it was all of them. So I'd say that plays a huge part, like a lot of narcissism and yeah, like a lot of things like that. I think that's a big way that cult leaders are able to get people under their cults. And an example of, like, I guess, the people going into cults, the same thing. This is also a Charles Manson quote. This is all from a show on Netflix called How to Become a Cult Leader. It's actually a very good show. I recommend you watch it if you're interested in that stuff. It's a very good show. But anyways, he said that he wants like not broken but bruised. So like runaway teens or recovering drug addicts or people that just got out of a abusive situation, you know, like they can get better but they're in a bad state. And then another tactic they tend to use a lot is something called love bombing, which is just showering them with everything they want and everything that they think they've needed. And then, like, boom, wow, these people know me. This is like my family. And then that brings us to another one, which is isolation. Like, cut off all your family members. If they don't agree with us, if you can't make them join, you don't need to be around them. They're bad for you. They're going to try to convince you we're bad. And also, shutting them off from the internet, too, is a huge part in how they keep people in the cults. That's why cults today are super difficult to do because we have computers. That's why in like the 70s, when hippie culture and everything was around, cults were much more active back then. One, because there was no way to really tell if these people are good or bad from the inside, you know, like you can't just go on the internet and look up, blah, blah, blah about this. So, yeah. What else? Another, I'd say, pretty huge thing about cults is the leaders will always have this inner circle of people. It's never just them. They always have a close circle of people that know the truth, but still stick by them no matter what. I'll need to look up the name because I don't remember it off the top of my head, and I don't know where my script went, so... But there was this cult in Japan. I think it ended around 2001 after a subway attack and killed a lot of people. They did a lot of damage with that attack. But he had like a small group of people that knew that this was all just kind of like a big money grab. And of course, the guy's a narcissist. He wants to do what he wants, and he has messed up beliefs according to our standards, right? Like he thought that he told everyone that the world was going to end on a certain date, and when it did it, he said that they have to start it. So then they did. The people that did like find out about it, like how he was faking it and stuff, when it was finally revealed, he had his like little inner circle, burn the guy's body, right? So there's no more traces of him, and no one caught him for a while until they all got busted during the subway attacks. But like you even see that with like Waco, Texas, even though that one's a little different, but it's still like a doomsday cult. Like how that one formed was, oh God. Okay, scratch that. But even like the Branch Davidians, David Koresh, he took over that entire cult. Like that wasn't originally his. He kind of turned it into a cult when they started producing weapons. That's when the DEA raided it. Really good documentary on that called Waco, Texas. I recommend watching it. It was actually really interesting, really cool too, because you could see how the people are affected afterwards, which was another really cool thing. Like, there was interviews with the old members, because you could tell they never wanted to leave. The only reason they left is because the building set on fire, and some of them went out and the rest burned to death, which is sad, especially because there's a lot of women and children that burned with them, which sucks. But pretty much they get so emotional talking about David Koresh because they saw him as like their father or their lover, and like they believed in what he believed, and that's all they ever knew. So losing it and coming back to like society is very hard for them, because like, how are you supposed to do that when you've only lived this way your entire life, right? It's like the entire world was just flipped upside down. Which, yeah, there's like ways to rehabilitate them, but I'm sure there's still members of these cults keeping it alive around, like today even, I would assume. Because, I mean, I could see how it could be hard to lose those ideologies and all that love that you thought was real, when really they were probably just stealing your money. And like Scientology, like that's not real. That's a cult. And that one's interesting. I mean, the guy himself, I'm pretty sure he said, like, in an interview that if you want to make the most money, just start a religion. So yeah, I mean, his entire thing was based off like some space alien coming to Earth. I don't remember it. I only remember that from a South Park episode. I didn't do a lot of research on Scientology. So with that, I'm just kind of going off in my head. So yeah. But honestly, there's a lot of really interesting aspects to a cult. I'd say one of the biggest things, though, is just the bond the leader creates with the, like, members of the cult. Like, a lot of times, the leaders, when they are male, will engage in sexual activities with female or even male members, because to them, the members, it feels like they're being brought closer to the leader, otherwise known as, to them, probably God, right? So it's very interesting. I'm pulling up my notes here to double check, so 1 second. Oh, no, I know what I'm talking about. But some, like, I guess, troubles I've had with making this and getting, like, all the stuff was definitely interviews with victims themselves of the cults, because you don't really tend to see a lot of them, especially with the bigger cults, because a lot of them end in mass suicide or guns blazing. So it's kind of hard to find a lot of people, and I don't know any cult members personally. I don't think they're that common. Well, I wouldn't know, though. I didn't really look for cult members, so yeah. Hold on. I had some good notes written down. I'm just getting to them so I can... Oh, another big one is how they shun and punish behaviors they don't like. Like, if you're doing something different from the group, then you kind of get pushed out, right? You either get pushed out, or they change you, either like physically, like beat you to change, or they just guilt trip you like crazy so you change and be like everyone else. And that brings me to another one, which is when you see cults, you don't see a lot of individualism. It depends, of course, because there's a lot where, like, they are still in their own individual selves. They just all believe in the same thing. But there's also a lot, like, say, like the Anthill Kids Club. Yeah, I think it was called. I'm pretty sure they all just wore, like, white t-shirts and shaved their heads, and that was, like, what they looked like, right? Or even Hold on. Even like Charles Manson, right? They all had that little like cross right in their forehead from, I think it was a screwdriver they did that with. But yeah, so they all had these like marks on their head. It's just like that, getting rid of like their sense of self. They're the same as everyone else. They're no different. Another huge thing that I totally crossed over was like wanting to be a part of something bigger. Like those people, especially in the 70s, like the hippies, you know, revolting against the government, taking all the psychedelics and stuff. Like another big thing is that, like, why am I so bad at talking? Hold on, I have it. Yeah, they just want to feel like they are bigger than themselves, right? So they want to feel like, wow, I'm a part of something good. It's going to change the world. We're going to help so many people. Or this is like special. Like, I'm going to get to this heaven. Like, even with like Applegate, right? They believe that aliens were going to take them after they killed themselves and they'd become these higher life forms. And to do that, they shunned all sexuality. So they would have the guys literally castrate themselves, which members died from even before, like, even before the mass suicide event, right? And even then, you could see they were wearing the same clothes, same blanket covering them, same shoes, everything. So it's just like you see these similarities between it, and then you're like, huh, this is interesting. Because it is. It's interesting how, like, of course it's easy for us to see that, you know, like, oh, that's obviously a cult. Oh, that's obviously, you know, fake. But to them, it was, like, so different. What you got to, like, realize, like, what were they going through before, right? They might have had nowhere to turn, and then these people come giving them all this love and showing them all this stuff. You're more likely to believe them. And you see that a lot. Like positive, like, activities and shit. Oh my God. Why do I keep saying that? I'm gonna leave it in. Or maybe I'll edit it out later. I probably will, because I don't want to keep that in. Yeah, I'll edit it out. Okay. But I find the topic of cults extremely interesting. And honestly, a lot of it is just a lot of, like, psychological manipulation, right? You won't really see a lot of, like, physical abuse. Yes, sometimes it is common. It is very common, but most of it is very, like, mental abuse, emotional abuse too. A lot of times too, with like Doomsday Cult, they're training these warriors, these people that are just tuned out from the world. Everyone else is scum. This is what needs to happen. Everyone else needs to, you know, die for us to go up to heaven. And it's a very dangerous belief, because you have stuff like that Subway, like, terrorism act in Japan, where they literally released this toxic, I don't remember exactly what it was called, but it was like a very, very toxic type of gas, I think, that leaked out on the subway and killed, I think, like 16 people, injured hundreds. So it was very bad. Very bad. But one thing that the leaders, I would say, all have in common is just this pathological narcissism, right? Like, they are constantly thinking that they are gods, then they're on top of the world. And you see that a lot with people like that. Very charismatic people like that usually have narcissism or things like that, like even like psychopath, like a psychopath. They're good around other people, but they don't really care about anyone. They don't care about anyone really but themselves, but they want everyone to like them. That's more of a narcissist. But I rest my case with that. So yeah, I would just say that narcissism is probably the biggest thing of a cult leader and how they're able to get people in. You even see it with dictators too, like Hitler. He was definitely a pretty charismatic guy if he was able to push all those ideas onto people and have them push on the ideas to others too. So in the same sense, like, these people just have a God complex, pretty much. Which is also very interesting, because I never understand how people are able to do that. I don't know how, but I don't think I have one. So, but honestly, I would check out How to Become a Cult Leader on Netflix and Waco, Texas, because it has a super good amount of information. I wasn't able to finish the entire show. I've been very busy, but it is honestly an amazing show. It's very cool, and they also have one about dictators too. It's a lot of similar stuff in a way. But another really big thing I'd say about cults is just like, another one. Forgot about this one. They will perform acts of God, right? Like, good example that I remember from the show. Charles Manson had a little seminar with his members, right, where he was on acid, right? He took acid, but he was explaining the story as he was on it. And apparently, according to him, he was pinned to the cross like Jesus was. And according to an interview with one of the members, they're saying they could, like, feel the love, right? Like, he was so charismatic and his story was so convincing that the members were like, wow, my eyes are open. Like, this is insane. This is so cool. So you just see a lot of stuff like that with it. You see a lot of these cult leaders performing acts of God, like I don't remember the name off the top of my head, but it was a very big cult in Japan. If I remember, I will put it in at the end with all my sources. So what he would do is he would take people to his, like, kind of own private room with his inner circle, and they would cover his eyes, and he said he would tell them, like, you're going to see a light, and this is me showing you the light of God or something, right? And they would cover his eyes, and they'd take a bright flashlight and just shine it. And they believed it because he was so charismatic, and he convinced all these people that they believed everything that he said. They would follow word from word, and it's like the same thing. Like, and it kind of brings us back to them wanting broken but not bruised members, or bruised but not broken. Sorry, I messed that up. Because, they're not broken. They could still be fixed. You could still put your impressions on them. Like, a lot of them were teens. A lot of cult members were impressionable youth, like my age, because, I ran away from home because my parents don't care about me, and we care about you, we're here for you, we can help you out. And it's like, dangerous, very dangerous. But like I said, you don't really see a lot of cults nowadays. There are few, and I'm sure there's more that I personally don't know of, but I mean, there's a whole bunch of different types. I mean, Scientology is still around somewhat. If I'm not mistaken, there is some, like, pretty big, like, Chinese cult still going around. I'm gonna look this up. I'm actually curious now. Let's look at the biggest cults today. I'll see if I know any. yeah, so there's one of the family. I ran out of storage, so I had to delete some apps, and I'm back. So anyways, like I was saying, biggest cults of today, I'll read them off. I don't know some of them because I kind of only really researched older cults, the more popular ones, because most people know what, like, the People's Temple was, or Heaven's Gate. Oh, it's Shinriko. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but that's the Japanese one I was talking about. It's a very interesting story. Actually, they were able to evade the government for like years straight, even when they were making serious slip-ups by putting like the poisonous like substances into the ground. They were still able to like get it away. They had like secret rooms with like chemists and everything making these chemicals. It's pretty crazy. But the biggest current cults, the Family International, previously known as Children of God, NXIVM, don't know that one personally, Scientology, and Fundamentalist Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I've heard of that one, I'm pretty sure. But, okay, I'm back again. Stupid phone. So yeah, I mean, there's still cults around today. They're not as big and they're not as extreme, I would say. A lot of them are just kind of like they're there, but they're not as extreme as they were, you know, I don't know, it's like 60 years ago. I'm sure there's like some underground ones, like, you know, I could go into conspiracy theories too. You got like the Freemasons and, you know, like the, what's that one place in, is it California, the forest with the giant owl, like they all worship the owl. I'm not going to get into that because I don't think that's what my topic is about. So I'm not going to bore you guys with that too, because I feel like that would be extremely boring to listen to. All right, I'm also just going to list off some of, you know, stuff that cults do. Like, manipulation's a big one, like I said. Like, I feel like I've covered most of it, but I'd say manipulation is definitely one of the biggest aspects of cults in general. Because, like, literally, the entire point, well, it's hard to just describe what a cult is because there's no, like, set definition of one. Like, I can't say, because if you could say it's a religion, but then you can also say it's a cult. Like, I can't go say Christianity is a cult, right? Because I don't think it is. I don't believe it is. But then still something like Scientology is, but other people wouldn't agree with that. I think my definition personally for what a cult is something that poses as a religion or something that poses as good but is secretly evil. Or evil in the sense of like what evil is today, you know? So, like a cult that really grooms, you know, like, God, how do I put it? A cult that steals people's money, or something that steals people's money and also mentally and physically is abusive to them. Like a lot of cults, a lot of people that deal with like sexual abuse and all that. Yes, there's sexual abuse cases in a lot of other things too, but that's not like the main, like that wasn't part of it, right? That's just a couple corrupt people, or corrupt people in that certain group. This is like the person that made it is just corrupt and only wants this and that. That would be my definition of a cult. It's probably pretty crappy, but I mean, I've got like a degree in this, so I don't know. But totally feeling this. Big thing with Scientology. If, say, like, your family member said, oh, this is a cult, this isn't good for you, and you told someone in Scientology, they would tell you to cut them off, or you're getting cut off too, because they don't want you or anyone else to be spreading the truth to them, right? Because they want to keep their money, they want to keep the people inside their cults. Which, yeah. So it's very interesting. And another thing, here's something about Charles Manson. He was actually an aspiring, like rock star almost, right? He always wanted to be a rock star. So a lot of times he did gain a lot of influence. He would go with people that were, I guess, kind of rock stars or had their own studios to record music. And I'm pretty positive one of those things was he got kicked out of one. So he got kicked out of, I guess, a studio for being kind of weird. So, I mean, yeah, it's very interesting. It's a very interesting topic. I would recommend doing some research yourself if you're still interested, because there's a lot of things that you can cover with it. And it's like a deep rabbit hole, right? There's so many, like, obscure cults. Like, I know about one in Russia where the guy was literally, not even joking, literally just using them for money, and told them, oh, the end is coming, I need you all to get in this cave. And the followers stayed in the cave for so long. Even the leader came back and like, hey, I was lying to you guys can come out. None of them came out. The only thing that made them came out is because someone died in that cave, and it started stinking so bad that people were like throwing up and like couldn't take it. Only thing that made them come out. So, it's very interesting. I think, like, the mindset of these people is just very interesting, to believe someone that much to the point of just, I will die for you, I believe everything you say. I personally, I don't know, maybe one day I'll be in a cult. Maybe one day you guys will see me on the news for something I did in a cult I'm in. I don't know. I don't plan on ever joining a cult, because they're not the best thing. So, yeah, I'd say I covered a lot of the psychology of the cults and stuff. So, yeah. My sources are, let me pull up the site. I'll just list them all. Just give me a second. Just gotta make the video a little longer so it works out. God, people are calling me nonstop today. I don't know why. What did I do to need so many calls? I can't respond to that right now. Okay. One second. All right. So hold on. Okay. Someone called me again and it stopped it. One of the biggest sources, this is your brain on cults. You probably have so many questions. It's from New York Times. It's written by Leah Greenblatt, and it was posted on April 2nd, 2025. The other big one was David Koresh, Encyclopedia of the World Biography Online. This is all of that Gale thing we did in the library. The People's Temple, American Decades. That was also a big one, too. Also on Gale. You can find these all on that app we have. For shows, How to Become a Cult Leader, Netflix, and Waco, Texas. That shows also. But honestly, How to Become a Cult Leader, very good show. Has so much information. And it explains so much of the psychology aspects and everything. It is very good. Thank you for listening, and I hope you guys have a blessed day.